You know, there are some people who live in the delusional world that Israel's going to be able to live alongside a Palestinian state or some kind of entity, despite for the last 100 years facing violence and anti-Semitism, which lies at the core of the Palestinian cause. But there are some people who say, forget two-state solution. You know, I want to see, absolutely, I care about Jews, so they say I don't support anti-Semitism, but let's have peace and harmony where everyone can just return back to where they lived pre-1948, and we can just have everyone living there in one state for all, and it'll be marvelous. And I see plenty of people saying that, especially on the left, and they just say, look, that's the obvious solution. It's so simple. It's so straightforward. Let's just have one state for all. Why do we have to have these Jewish states and this Arab state? And it all sounds so lovely, doesn't it? Have you seen what's been happening in Syria over the past few days? It looks like there's been over 1,000 people that have been killed by those who are loyal to Assad, those who are part of the Jalani, the new regime, the Islamist rulers fighting each other, and also going after minorities, like the Alawite, I think they're pronounced, the Muslim minority, and also Christians, killing them, butchering them. And by the way, I would note that there's been silence, hasn't there, on the streets of Western capitals. No one seems to be talking about that. No one seems to be protesting that. Silence. No one seems to be interested. Only when Israel conducts a just war. But my main point is that you're really telling me that creating a state in which Jews are a minority can't really call it a home of their own, in which they can have self-determination. You're telling me that turning Israel into that doesn't mean that there will be a bloodbath for Jews, just as we're seeing in Syria? You think that will ensure Jewish safety? How delusional could you possibly be? I mean, when I hear that, you know, as people like Douglas Murray say, look at Jewish history. How have Jews fared over the last 2,000 years when living in Christian, Islamic countries? It's not always been so pretty. And yes, the Western world has changed in some ways since then, although, quite frankly, we've seen anti-Semitism manifest in all kinds of other ways and ideologies. But the notion that living under an Islamic majority would somehow serve Jews well is for the birds. It's insane. And quite frankly, I would say that it makes a mockery of Jewish safety. It makes a mockery of our intelligence. And I genuinely wonder if people genuinely believe that they are that delusional to think that it would be fine for the Jews. I think they do think that. Many of these people who are just naive and foolish that say this is the way to go. But the fact that there was bloodshed and violence against Jews in the land of Israel prior to the establishment of a Jewish state should tell you all you need to know. By the way, this isn't the reason for the Jewish people's right to live in this land. Their right to live in this land comes from the fact that God assigned this land to the Jewish people. It's been their ancient, biblical, historic homeland for thousands of years. No people has a greater connection to a plot of land than the Jewish people do to the land of Israel. But I'm just responding to those who make the argument, who make the case that this should no longer be a Jewish state and everyone can just be rearranged in terms of where they live and how the government works. At least there are those that understand, that those who call for a two-state solution, even though it is a delusion, at least people in those camps understand the need for the Jewish people to have self-determination, to have a home of their own to ensure Jewish security. Even though, of course, it's delusional because that Palestinian state will, as we've seen in Gaza, simply just be used as a method to try and kill the Jews, destroy the Jewish state if it were ever to happen. But they're not really interested in statehood anyway. So I don't even think it's the chances of them even accepting one is just so it's not going to happen. But what I'm saying is that for those that make the case, no, I'm not saying two-state solution, I'm saying one state for all, which is what the George Galloways of this world and others will argue, and it all sounds so lovely. Look at what's happening in Syria. Look how they're going after minorities. And we've seen this time and time again. It's happening in Africa as well right now, Christians. And why are there more Christians standing up for their fellow brothers and sisters? Many, many questions. But I'm making this simply as a particular point around the subject of a one-state solution where the Jewish people no longer have the majority, can no longer call it a home. Calling for that is calling for a bloodbath. Hi, thank you so much for watching. To watch another one, click here. To stay up to date with all our content, click here to subscribe. And if you're able to, you can help support JTV to grow and grow by clicking join below this video, where you can become a member and get perks including early access to videos and private live discussions with me. But most of all, you'll be partnering with us on our mission to change the world.